everyone, it's Miss Gubrood, and welcome to our conversation around data and statistics. Statistics is a fancy word for a bunch of numbers and how they relate to each other concerning data. So data is just a fancy name for a whole group of numbers. Here's our essential question for today. Remember to please pause and write this in your notebook and then come back. What is data? That's our question. And how do we decide just one number to describe a whole bunch of numbers? How would we do that? So please pause and write this down and then come back. All right, so let's first talk about what data is. Data is a group of numbers that all kind of go together. They all represent sort of different examples of the same number. Let me give you an example. If I was trying to get in shape and I wanted to do push-ups every single day, one day I did 15 push-ups. The next day I did 13 push-ups. The next day 20. The next day 15, the next day 9, and the next day 12. If I keep track of all that information, it all talks about the times, the amounts of push-ups I did, we could call that group data or a data set. And it just means numbers that all kind of go together. They're all related together in some way. In this example, they're all related by me doing push-ups. Now, in order to do today's lesson, you're going to need the worksheet that says Mean, Median, Mode, Range Worksheet. It's in your Google Classroom or your teacher gave you a copy. And let's start looking at number 6. These are the data points. We call them data points. 15 is one data point. 13 is one data point. 20 is one data point. So let's look at these data points. This is all for me starting my exercise routine and trying to get better at doing push-ups. Now, here's the reason we need one number. Because if I was talking to my friend and they said, hey, how many push-ups are you doing every day? You could say, well, Monday I did 15, Tuesday I did 13, Wednesday I did 20, Thursday I did 15, Friday I did 9, Saturday I did 12, and then Sunday I took a day off. And they say, oh, okay. But what if you had been doing push-ups for 3 weeks? You wouldn't want to have to report out every single day of how many push-ups you did. That would be ridiculous. Instead, you need an about, or you need a number that says, well, it's pretty much. And that is where mean, median, mode, and mode come in. They kind of tell us what a group of numbers altogether is pretty much, or kind of, or almost, or the average, you would hear people say. So we've got to figure out what to do with all those numbers. So I'm going to pause and build the numbers to help us show. You might not be able to build the numbers, but I'd like you to build them on your paper with something we call a dot plot. So I'd like you to do this, build the numbers along with me on a dot plot. So you're going to need in your math notebook a clean sheet. So open your math notebook to the first clean sheet and then come right back. All right, I'm going to tip my screen down here so you can see I built groups of these numbers. So here's 15. I'm going to turn it around so they're all facing the same with bumps up. There's a group of 15. There's a group of 13. You can see it if I put it right next to it. You can see that's too small. So there's 13. Here's a group of 20. Here's a group of 15. Here's a group of 9. And here's another group of 15. So, I'm sorry, there's a group of 12. So there are my numbers. You can see they all start at the bottom, and that's their various heights. Now, here's the question then. What could this look like if you don't have blocks like I do, where you can build towers like I do? What would that look like on your paper? We're going to call that a dot plot. And what it's going to look like is instead of me building like this, I'm going to build with X's instead of blocks. So if you already have this, check and see if you're right. If you haven't done something like this before, then see what we've got here. So there's your line along the bottom. And we'll put arrows that show it goes one way or the other. So I'm going to put a little line right here, and that's 0. That means we did 0 push-ups on that day. Then I'm going to put a line a little ways away. That's 5. I'm going to try to make equal spaces. There's 10. Equal spaces. There's 15. Equal spaces. There's 20. And actually, you know what? I'm going to pause and spread those out a little bit so I have a little more room in between. So I'm going to pause and spread them out a second. Okay, I spread them out, erased them, and spread them out a little bit more. Now, we don't only have push-ups that are 0, 5, 10, 15, or 20. So in between, I'm going to just make little hash marks kind of to show the spaces in between. So here's 0. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's 5. There's 6, 7, 8, 9, and then it goes to 10. Now I'm going to 11, 12, 13, 14, there's 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and there's 20. I don't necessarily need to label all of those numbers. I know that if this is 0 and this is 5, then that number, that hash mark means number 1. This hash mark means number 2, number 3, etc. I don't necessarily need to number all of those to know that that's what that means. So if you have not done it, please pause and follow along and make this on your paper and then come right back. All right, so now I added a title. Remember, this is the number of push-ups I did each day. The title should always tell what your dot plot is about, because otherwise you're just looking at numbers, you don't know what they are. Now I'm going to use an X for every time I did a certain number of push-ups. Remember, my first number was 15. So I'm going to put 1x above the 15. Now, the next number was 13. So I'm going to put one number above the 13. Remember, 13 isn't necessarily marked, but I know it's in between 10 and 15. So I know that's 10, 11, 12, 13. So I'm going to put an X on the 13. I'm going to keep doing that with all of my data. So please pause and do that and come back and see if we agree. All right, does your picture look like mine? I hope it does. Now, one thing I didn't tell you, maybe you already knew this, is when you got to the 15 the second time, you just make a taller stack. So we have a stack of 15. We had 2 groups of 15, so our stack is taller. Now, I'm going to add some additional numbers, and then we're going to add those, we're going to plot those additional numbers on it. So this is called a dot plot, and it represents the data in a group. Let's add some more data to our group. Let's say that we did push-ups for the next 2 weeks and add that data to the group as well. Okay, here's my new data. You can pause and write this down on your paper if you need to so you know what to plot. 8, 19, 5, 4, 13, 15, 9. And then the following week, 15, 3 was a rough day that day, 4, 20, really great day that day, 13, 15. So now plot those numbers onto your dot plot. And remember, when you're doing that, when you're plotting it, remember, if there's another 15, then it goes, you just keep stacking it up on top of each other like that. So the numbers grow taller as you run into that data point again. So go ahead and plot that new data and then come right back. All right, does your data look like mine? If you started to run out of room, you might have had to start again or make a bigger space like I did at the beginning. But this is what your data should look like. Now, the cool thing about this is when you have it plotted like that, there's an easy way to talk about which number you mostly do. If someone said, okay, but mostly how many push-ups you do, you might use the number that has the most in the dot plot. You might say, I mostly do 15. Why would 15 make sense? Well, it's not that you never do a small amount. You do, or a medium amount, or more. But you could choose the number 15 as the number to represent all these past 3 weeks, because the number that has the most, more times than any other day, you did 15 push-ups. That's called the mode. The number that occurs the most often is called the mode. It's not the biggest number necessarily. It's the number that occurs most frequently. More days than any other days, you did 15 push-ups. So you could use the number 15 to talk about how many push-ups you did. Your assignment is to choose one of the other number sets from our worksheet and make up your own situation. I made up this situation. I started with this number set, and I made up the situation of doing push-ups. You choose a different number set, just one different number set. Make your graph, make your dot plot just like we did here, and add 2 more sets of data in just like we did. So first, plot the numbers they give you, and then whatever the scenario it is, making cupcakes or making baskets or whatever you choose, give us 2 more number sets like we just plotted, and then tell us what is the mode? What's the number you could use to best talk about all of your data with just one number? Good luck. See you next time.